Very happy to be joined here by Commissioner Ellis, who of course has been such a champion for all of these issues. Dr. Ana Yanes Correa, Interim Director of the Justice Administration Department. Before Dr. Correa, we'll actually hear from Council Member Tarsha Jackson. Happy to have such a longtime champion for children and youth here with us. Henry Gonzalez, who's the Executive Director of our Harris County Juvenile Probation Department. Dr. Asada Richards may join us later. She's with the Youth Justice Coalition. And finally, we'll hear from Helen Stagg, who is the CEO of Change Happens, where we are this afternoon. Several representatives from the anti-crime organization Moms Demand are here as well. So thank you guys so much for joining us, and Liz Haynes, thank you. You know, when most people think of first responders, they think of police, they think of firefighters, other emergency managers that protect us during emergencies. And when it comes to public safety, it is so true that they're a vital part of our team, and we're always grateful for their continued support. But what a lot of people don't know is there are other folks I consider first responders as well, who work quietly behind the scenes to make sure that our communities are strong, that our communities are safe. Those are mentors, educators, drug prevention advocates, faith leaders, social workers, juvenile judges, so many of the folks we visited with this afternoon. When it comes to saving lives, when it comes to keeping crime at bay in our community, they're first responders too, and I'm so thrilled to be bringing more support to them and to the work they do as a part of our crime fighting strategy. Let me begin by saying that it's no secret that there's still a strong contingent of people in Harris County who particularly like to make their voices heard during election years, who are still willingly, ardently defending a broken criminal justice system, a system that has failed multiple generations by relying on ideology, on dog whistle attacks, instead of relying on evidence, experience, data, and research, by relying on get tough rhetoric only, instead of focusing on an objective assessment of what works and meaningful action, by relying on scapegoating others, again, particularly during election years, instead of taking a sober look at what works and what doesn't, and working with people, with stakeholders, to get things done and keep the community safe. For decades, they've doubled down on policies that don't work and that actually got us to where we are today. A strategy that focuses on locking up repeat nonviolent offenders or a strategy that focuses on locking up first-time nonviolent offenders with mental health issues, with substance use issues, instead of providing treatment. That's how we ended up with the largest mental health facility in the state being the Harris County Jail. That's not new. Targeting communities of color instead of engaging with them. That's how we ended up with such a disproportionate number of kids and adults of color filling up our jails and prisons. That's not new. Making weapons of war on our streets more accessible instead of promoting gun safety. That's how we ended up in part with the crime wave we're facing. Trying to mass incarcerate our way out of the problem instead of investing in systems smart enough to tell the difference between someone who is a repeat violent offender and needs to be behind bars and someone who is a first-time or non-violent offender who needs treatment instead. This is not the way, and sadly the people of Harris County are dealing with those consequences every day. Now we're dealing with a local and nationwide gundemic responsible for an increased rate of homicides. We're dealing with a system that values the power and profits of bail bondsmen and political actors instead of crime victims and advocates. We're dealing with a mass incarceration problem that means that the United States incarcerates more people than any other country in the world, including Russia and China. The consequences of these politics cascade down. They're responsible for a criminal case backlog, dangerous conditions inside an overcrowded jail, the school-to-prison pipeline, the revolving door of our criminal justice system. That's not fair for communities, it's not fair for taxpayers, it's not fair for the next generation of leaders, of citizens, for our kids who deserve to grow up in the confidence that they have a criminal justice system that works, instead of getting caught up in it for life. That's why over the past several years, Commissioner Ellis, Commissioner Garcia, folks like Councilmember Jackson, and folks here have been fighting to be smart on crime, not just tough. And that means investing in solutions that work to protect public safety, as opposed to just the things that sound good and you can say while pounding your fist, and then score some political points along the way. Today, we're here to announce just one of those new programs. Last week, Commissioners Court approved Change Happens as the administrator of $4 million in county funds to support at-risk youth. The resources come from our county's Youth Justice Community Reinvestment Fund. It helps prevent crime. This is the first time a Texas county has created a dedicated fund for this purpose. It's a powerful initiative that will help young people stay out of trouble and stay on track for a successful life. The communities in our county with the highest percentage of kids that end up caught up in our juvenile justice system, in our criminal justice system, also have the fewest support services to keep youth out of the system in the first place. We're working to change that. This is a program that will grow the work that organizations like Change Happens are already doing for our community. This will work to do things like mentor at-risk youth, support in-school and summer programs that keep kids from getting involved in risky behavior, provide drug education, other strategies to help particularly at-risk youth make smart decisions about their future, safe decisions about their future. Through this funding, we'll be able to leverage the decades of experience that Change Happens has in this sphere in making communities healthier and safer by allowing them to fund and provide technical assistance to other nonprofits so they can serve as a force multiplier for their work and help incubate other organizations that also do this kind of work. This type of strategy is a no-brainer. I want to make that very clear. An overwhelming amount of research over decades consistently demonstrates that investing in early intervention among at-risk youth effectively decreases the likelihood of young people ended up having run-ins with the criminal justice system. It saves taxpayer dollars in the long term, if that's the angle we want to come at it from. So if you care about reducing crime in Harris County, if you care about preventing gun violence, if you care about saving taxpayer dollars, you should care about this kind of initiative. And that's what we're doing. And let me close with this. I mentioned being smart and tough. We don't have to choose between funding law enforcement and funding initiatives like this. It's about funding what works. In fact, just a couple of months ago, we approved a budget of $1.4 billion with a B, the highest ever budget for justice and safety that Harris County has had. The most we've ever spent. It includes increases for every law enforcement agency in Harris County, 400 new vehicles for constables and sheriffs, pay increases for police, just to name a few. So we can do both, and we are doing both. And we're focusing on the research, and we're focusing on what works, instead of focusing on pandering and politics. Thank you. I'm very proud to call up Commissioner Ellis. Before that, let me repeat my remarks in Spanish very briefly, and then we'll hear from Commissioner, if you don't mind. Let's see if I can get, okay. Me enorgullece mucho estar aquí con Change Happens, con organizadores de este gran grupo que han trabajado por muchas décadas, también la concejal Tarsha Jackson, el comisionado Rodney Ellis. Cuando pensamos en los trabajadores de emergencia, muchas veces pensamos en la policía, pensamos en los bomberos, en los trabajadores de emergencia que nos protegen cuando algo se incendia, cuando hay una catástrofe. Pero en cuanto a la seguridad pública, hay otras personas, otros grupos que también son una parte vital de nuestro equipo. Son personas como mentores, defensores en la prevención de consumo de drogas, líderes religiosos, también trabajadores sociales, jueces de menores, tipo de personas que están y forman parte de esta organización. No es secreto que existe todavía un fuerte contingente de personas en nuestro condado que hacen oír sus voces, especialmente durante las elecciones. que defienden sin parar un sistema de justicia penal que simplemente no funciona, que se confían en la ideología, en lugar de basarse en la evidencia, en la experiencia, en la investigación, que se enfrentan en la idea de mano dura y nada más, en lugar de ver qué realmente funciona, que intentan culpar a otros en lugar de cambiar las cosas que no funcionan. Por muchas décadas han estado trabajando en programas que nos han llevado a donde estamos hoy día. Encerrar a los delincuentes no violentos que tienen problemas mentales o problemas de abuso de drogas en lugar de ofrecer tratamiento. Trabajando o involucrar a las comunidades de color en lugar de trabajar con ellas. Haciendo que más armas de guerra, armas de fuego estén en nuestras calles en lugar de intentar minimizar el uso de estas armas. Intentar descarcelar en masa en lugar de resolver nuestro problema de crimen. Lastimosamente, hoy día vemos un sistema que no funciona por muchas décadas de políticas públicas que se han basado en política en lugar de evidencia, y eso es lo que queremos cambiar. Hoy día, por ejemplo, vemos que en este país hay más personas en la cárcel que en cualquier otro país en todo el mundo. Hay más personas en cárcel y en prisión en los Estados Unidos que inclusive en Rusia y en China. Pónganse a pensar en eso. Eso no es justo para las comunidades, no es justo tampoco para las personas que pagan impuestos, para todos nosotros, ni tampoco para los niños. Si vas a nuestra cárcel de niños, cárcel de adultos, la gran mayoría son personas de color, latinas, afroamericanas. Todo eso también viene involucrado al hecho de que el sistema no está bien diseñado. Por eso hemos trabajado durante los últimos años con el comisionado Ellis y otros para no solamente tener una mano dura, sino también trabajar de una manera inteligente. Hoy estamos anunciando un programa que nos enorgullece mucho e intenta enfocarse en lo que sí realmente funciona. La semana pasada la Corte de Comisionados aprobó $4 millones para esta organización, Change Happens. Esta organización apoya a jóvenes en riesgo de involucrarse con el sistema penal. Los recursos de los $4 millones vienen del centro, el Fondo de Reinversión Comunitaria de Justicia Juvenil. Este fondo es el primero en el estado de Texas en enfocarse para evitar la participación de los jóvenes en el sistema penal. Las comunidades en nuestro condado que tienen el porcentaje más alto de niños que se involucran en el sistema penal son las comunidades con la menor cantidad de recursos para prevenir que los niños terminen involucrados con la ley. Este programa va a apoyar a Change Happens y otras organizaciones para ofrecer programas de verano, educación sobre las drogas, otras estrategias. Este tipo de estrategia no es nuevo. Hay investigaciones de muchas décadas, muchísimos estudios que demuestran que este tipo de inversiones previene el crimen finalmente, ayuda a que los niños no terminen como parte del sistema penal cuando niños ni como adultos. Entonces, a todos los que les importa el reducir el crimen en el condado Harris, la seguridad, el ahorrar fondos, no tener que pagar tantos impuestos, todas estas personas deberían apoyar este programa. Y deben terminar con esto. No hay que escoger entre apoyar a nuestra policía y apoyar programas como este. De hecho, hemos invertido una cantidad histórica en apoyar la policía y el sistema penal en sí. 1.4 mil millones, 1.4 billones de dólares en el último presupuesto. Pero hay que lograr hacer ambas cosas. No solamente subirle el salario a los policías, lo que hemos hecho, sino también programas de prevención como este, y por eso me enorgullece tanto estar aquí. Thank you all so much. We'll hear from Commissioner Ellis, and then I'll call up the rest of the speakers. Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Judge. It's good to be here at Change Happens. I've followed this organization over the years, and they do an outstanding job. Judge, I was glad we met with some of the kids, particularly the ones from Worthing, and I was thinking somebody suggested that maybe I'd get to see the world one day, so they had me take French. I guess that's why you never asked me to speak in Spanish at these press conferences. Look, this is important. It is important to stress that the county is checking all of the above boxes. And to come up with this program, we took the benefit of what other cities and counties around the country have done. We did a little cutting and pasting. We could look at what other people tried that did not work, because in many ways, we here in our region, council member, are a little late in being more creative with what we do. But we have invested, as the judge said, more in traditional law enforcement than the previous leadership at the court did that. And Judge, you and Commissioner Garcia in particular ought to be commended for that. But it takes more than that. If we could just do what we have done throughout the history of our region, I think we'd have solved those problems in terms of an uptick in crime by now. There have been upticks in the past. I've been in politics for a long time. How well I know. $4 million investment is a major investment, particularly for a county in Texas, because we're the first one to do it. But if you look around the country, other people are doing more. It was important, Judge, to come here and roll this out, because we have to have public support to go and do it. I'm also glad that we have Moms Demand Action here, because in all of the clutter out there about crime statistics going up, there's very little discussion about a common sense method that has been used throughout the history of the world to reduce violence. And that's less dependency on a gun in order to resolve disputes. So it's important that they're here. Other initiatives are coming. I just want to stress one point, and that is to reinforce that public safety, when young people in the criminal justice system are trying to be rehabilitated, is so important. Our system does not treat all young people the same. At virtually every stage of the juvenile justice process, youth of color, especially Hispanics and African Americans, receive harshest treatment, harshest sentences, even when their white counterparts have essentially identical histories. In 2020, 98% of the youth in custody in Harris County Jail were black or Latino. Nationally, black youth are nearly 5 times as likely to end up in youth prisons as their white peers. And Latino and American Indian youth are between 2 to 3 times as likely to end up there. Alternatives to youth incarceration include helping young people who are building family relationships, job training, mentoring programs, and community-based mental health, drug treatment, and rehab programs. I'm so proud of the work that our leadership in the county is doing, and we can do more. With that, I want to bring up one of our partners. We're not in her district, but she's been active on these issues for a long time, and I'm so proud, council member, that you, among others, have encouraged Mayor Turner, and the city is going to partner. We're not going to duplicate one another's efforts. We're going to complement one another's efforts. But Councilmember Tarsha Jackson.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for being here this afternoon. Thank you, Judge, for your leadership on this very important issue. Very important issue. And Senator Whitmire. Sorry. Commissioner Ellis, I know, right, Commissioner Ellis. My name is Tarsha Jackson, and I am the district rep for Houston City Council, District B, and that covers Acres Homes, Greens Point, Northeast Houston, 5th Ward, Pleasantville, a lot of underserved black communities, black brown communities. But before being council, I was a mother turned advocate. I came to this work back in 2001 after my 10-year-old special needs son was arrested in his elementary school for refusing to go to a timeout. He was arrested in jail for something that could have been handled with a D-Haul. That arrest led to my son spending a total of 5.5 years in Texas juvenile jails, from Harris County to the Texas Youth Commission. He was all over this state, from Beaumont, Marlin, Gainesville, Corsicana. My son was all over the state, and not just my son. Thousands of kids across the state of Texas were being warehoused because resources was not going into our community. The tough on crime was lock them up, throw it away the key, don't give them an education, release them. And once they were released, then they eventually went back into the criminal justice system. So the school to prison pipeline is real. And this was all in 2007. I know Ms. Carrera was part of this. When Senate Bill 103 was passed, that actually prohibited counties from jailing kids on Class C misdemeanors, and millions of dollars were allocated to alternatives to incarceration. But those dollars didn't go into communities. it went back into the system. And so that's why I stayed around after my son was finally released in 2007 to continue to fight to make sure that we focus our energy on true community-based alternatives, making sure that the folks that's in the villagers that's raising our kids, that's building our communities, get the resources that they need so that they can sustain our communities, so that they can keep our kids that's struggling within our communities. And so, Judge, I appreciate you for, moving forward on this. The Mayor Turner, we're doing a lot of great work in the city. Just last year, we passed allocated some resources for a community reinvestment fund. I know you guys just recently, the mayor announced earlier this year, his One Safe Houston plan that includes the credible messengers, the cure violence, is really investing in the community because that's how we're going to tackle and reduce crime. Police does not stop crime. They respond to crime. We need the people that are in the community working every day. We need them to have the tools so that they can respond and cure the violence that's happening within our neighborhood. So again, thank you all for being here. Asada, who led this effort. I mean, it was community part of making sure that this fund is community-centered. And so that's what's important, that what we do is community-centered and not system-centered. So again, Henry Gonzalez, I see you. Thank you for your leadership at juvenile probation. I mean, you're visionary, and we all share the same vision of making sure we're keeping our kids in the communities where they belong. So again, thank you all for being here, and I look forward to our continued partnership.
Thank you, Councilmember. We'll hear from Dr. Ana Yanis Correa with our Justice Administration.
Dr. Ana, sorry, I'm messing your name up. I love you.
This is a good day, everybody.
I know, right?
This is a good day, and it's a long time coming. My name is Ana Yanis Correa. I'm here representing the Justice Administration Department. And I have to just say thank you, because this would not have been made possible if you hadn't asked our department to really look at what investing in community looks like. And so this is a good day. And it's a good day because this fund is not just going to prevent kiddos from being in trouble. It's not just going to prevent kiddos from ending up in detention or kiddos ending up into the criminal justice system. It's also supposed to answer the question as to, if not detention, then what? Well, community is the what. Having a robust infrastructure to support those families and those kids. We know that 70% of the kiddos have gone through a lot of trauma. They need help. They need assistance. They need support. And the groups that have dedicated their lives, like this organization that's hosting us today, need this type of investment so that they can provide technical assistance, so that they can strengthen the capacity of these incredible groups that have sacrificed so much to help their community. And that's what this fund is about. So moving forward, we're going to be collecting data from day one, because this is not going to just be a Harris County project. We want 254 counties to duplicate this effort, because we deserve a better alternative. We deserve to give kids the opportunity to thrive, not just to survive. And that's what this fund is all about. Thank you so much for this great effort. Henry, thank you so much. This man decided to ask Commissioner's Court, can I use $2 million from our budget so that we can make this happen? What other agency does that? So thank you so much. Thank you, Asada. Thank you, everybody.
We'll hear from Henry Gonzalez, the Juvenile Probation Director.
Thank you. Thank you, Ana. When the idea of a community reinvestment fund came about, the premise was to redirect some of our department's unspent funds back into the community, but specifically communities that were impacted by our system, communities that were overrepresented in the population that we served as a department. I really wanted to find ways to engage communities so that together we can keep young people not just out of the juvenile justice system, but also to find ways to better serve those that were already in our juvenile justice system, particularly those in the detention center, to get them back into the communities with the guidance, support, and opportunities that they need to be successful. So how can the Community Reinvestment Fund do this? Well, we know that research shows that those communities with the highest rate of incarceration are often those in most need of resources for health care, housing, economic development, and social services. And research also shows that when a community's residents work together towards shared goals, these neighborhoods are safer and experience less crime. In this approach, community-based organizations play a vital role in providing services and supports that make communities stronger. But for this to happen, we have to channel resources to community organizations, community partners that reflect the people they serve, people who are dedicated to supporting their neighbors, those who engage people with lived experience. We need to leverage this lived experience, as these are the people who are familiar with the existing risk factors in the communities. They're the ones who know how to navigate their communities to be able to set up realistic protective factors. We know that change can happen, as we've already seen with some of our positive changes within our system. We have fewer overall referrals. Our detention population has significantly decreased by about 50% over the past 4 years. We've shut down one of our residential facilities to repurpose it from a building designed to incarcerate kids to one that provides young people with the supports and opportunities that will keep them from getting locked up. We can't do this alone. My work with Change Happen goes way back to when I was a juvenile probation officer many years ago, and I used the then, and I hope, Helen, I hope I get this name right, Families Under Urban and Social Attack, to serve the families that I worked with. I had the opportunity to be a part of a delegation that included Change Happens founder, the Reverend Leslie Smith, that visited several jurisdictions to see just how juvenile justice can be implemented differently. Change Happens remains a valuable partner in our department in providing direct services to young people involved at every level of our system. Our department is committed to continue our collaboration with Change Happens as the administrator of the funds, and to identify those communities that are most impacted. I've shared with many what my dream of this looks like, and it's to one day go to a detention hearing, and rather than seeing just that parent in front of the judge saying, "I'm here seeking my child's release," it will be these partners from their community standing with the parent saying, "We are seeking our child's release. And together we will provide a safety net for our child. And together with these funds, I know that we will see that change happens."
We'll hear next from Dr. Asada Richards with the Youth Justice Coalition.
Hello, everybody. I want to first open up by thanking Judge Lena Hidalgo and her staff for their leadership on this issue. And their leadership started prior to the pandemic. We were all organized to have a task force on really redefining youth justice, and the pandemic hit. And I want to thank the Amanda Cloud and Kelly King Jackson, formerly of the Simmons Foundation, for investing in this vision, but also investing in the community's capacity to partner with the judge's office and all the system stakeholders to be part of designing a new solution and a vision for how we can provide safety and security for our young people and also create better communities. I want to thank the coordinating team. You know, when someone speaks, there's always so many people behind them, right, that made it possible for them to speak. And I just want to let you know I'm only the person that was chosen to speak, but I represent the Center for Urban Transformation. I represent Pure Justice. I represent Sankofa Research Institute, the Urban Community Network, the Earl Carl Institute, the Public Defender's Office, Harris County Justice Administration Department, the Columbia Justice Lab, and the Annie Casey Foundation. And I recognize all of them because they were part of a coordinating team that met on a weekly basis, working on this issue, attempting to educate community members, residents, young people, parents about what is policy. Why do we need a fund? What will the fund do, right? And that was a lot of work, and I want to acknowledge them. I want to also acknowledge our community members, Laura Welch, who's here, Roshan Evans, and Isaac Iguera, who volunteered to participate in this process, that read the RFPs, that learned about the process, that met with the procurement department, and that really did the hard work of making sure sure that the voices of community and the voices of young people were in the room. I want to say our involvement represents the belief that providing young people with safety and protection and sufficient and substantial support and reaching their full potential requires a resilient community where they and their families live and prosper. This is based on the ideal of the strength of community and what the strength of community can do. I want to say that the creation of the fund is evidence that transformative work is only possible. It's only possible in Houston and Harris County when elected officials and those leaders are willing to share power with community members and those that are most affected by issues. And they're willing to provide a seat at the decision-making table to influence what happens. It is so very important that we take this moment to celebrate this accomplishment. It's been a long time coming. We've worked diligently, countless number of hours, days, giving our work. And we've had to overcome the issues of trust. We had to go over conflicts. We had to let go past hurts, and we had to put together a vision that together we can create something different. We can create a new paradigm for the distribution of resources and the sharing of power. I want to remind the members of the Redefining Youth Justice Coalition and the Harris County Commissioners and Change Happens that this accomplishment of identifying an intermediary is not an end to the process. It's the beginning of a new phase. We will be working closely with this nonprofit to ensure that the Youth Justice Community Reinvestment Fund is successful in equitably distributing monetary resources and making those available to those who have been the least, the last, and the forgotten. And we will do the hard work, but the necessary work of building the capacity of these small but mighty organizations and groups that are working hard. But most important, we promise to our communities, those of you who are listening to this, that there will be accountability and there will be transparency, because we know you deserve nothing less than that. And in closing, I want to say to young people, we owe you a deep apology. We have not served you well. We have not given you what you needed. Those of you who grew up like I did in Sunnyside, in South Park, in 3rd Ward, and Hiram Clark, and A-Leaf, in the Greenspoint area, you've never gotten what you needed. You never got what you deserved. You've made the best out of bad situations, and then we held you accountable for our shortcomings. We owe you an amends for how we've destroyed your lives, and we are going to do better by you. We want you to not give up on yourselves and not give up on us, because you deserve something better than you've ever imagined to have. And if we work together on this fund and work together in our communities, we can create a brighter future, not only for you, but for your sisters, your cousins, your brothers, your neighbors. And so this is the last generation of Black and brown children whose childhoods have been stolen from them. That is what is before us. And so we have a lot of work to do, but we can do it if you believe in us and you believe in yourselves and continue to make something out of nothing. As Tupac say, make $1 out of 15 cents, because better days